What is up with it, YouTubes? Quattro for Life here, bringing you guys this video today in response to my last video of my engine taking a shit. Did want to start by saying thank you guys for all the comments and the likes and everything. Definitely had a lot of support on our last video. I appreciate that. It is actually the fastest growing video so far as time, like within like the first week. Had the most views out of all the videos that I have, so it's ironically that's on the engine failure video, but I get it, it's interesting, people want to see, want to know. It doesn't bother me at all. This is definitely something that I wanted to film to get out there, just so you would know that I didn't really do much to put this together, and it's lasted a pretty long amount of time for that, I think personally. So just wanted to document this whole thing. This is just a step in the journey. This car and I have been through a lot, and it's just another day in the life. We're gonna tear it down and build it back up. So this is the tear down video. I'm gonna inspect everything, but as you can see, I already have it torn down, and I already have inspected everything, all the internals. So I chose to start the video right here because I'm sure everyone is dying to find out what happened, especially just from how many views the video got, like I said. So instead of making wait like 30 or 40 minutes, or skipping through a whole video just to get an answer, we're gonna go ahead and go over that right now, start with that, and then I will go back and we'll start at the beginning of the teardown. So first things first, let us discuss the damage, or should I say the lack thereof, because I have yet to find any evidence of internal damage. I certainly felt that there would be with the way the car lost power, but I'm not one to complain. But I'm sure we are all wondering, why did the car lose power? Why is the compression so low on cylinder number 3? And why did I have multiple cylinders with lower than normal compression? I had 2 of them was at 90, 110, 140, and obviously 3 was at 30. That is just, kind of all over the place there and kind of low. So I definitely expected to find some damage, thinking, got multiple cylinders with low compression. This is not good. But I did start to notice not too long ago that I was getting some blow-by in the exhaust on high boost. Normally you do get some in the intake, but that's why you got a catch can. But I was starting to get it out the exhaust. So I backed the boost off a little bit, and that kind of went away. But I guess it was still an issue. And I think that is the main reason, why when the car shut off, I was smelling oil so bad. Definitely some blow-by going on there. So I had figured the rings were starting to get, worn out on the car. So I pretty much started planning, started collecting parts to do a new engine build in the future. But, just, running the car so hard, I really should have been checking my compression. I'd say like doing an oil change, would be probably a good time, have the car, for service. It would be a good idea to do that. I kept telling myself that I would check it, but I failed to do so, because of my laziness, working all the time, whatnot. But there's no excuse for that. Not when something like this means this much to you. So, I would definitely do my best to prevent any further issues in the future. Most likely all of these cylinders were already low, so I feel like I said I could have prevented a possible failure. So I feel like we got lucky just seeing the damage that we found. But I will absolutely use this mistake as an opportunity to learn from and not to be so careless in the future. That means I plan to check the compression often, like I said, maybe even every oil change. And what I'm going to do is record the results. And then as time goes on, I will be able to track those results, and I can kind of see maybe if one cylinder is getting lower, or, just be able to monitor, further monitor the health of the engine. All right, just wanted to show you the damage. If you consider it that, well, at least want to show you what I found in the engine that I would definitely fix before reassembly. I wouldn't want to reassemble the engine with these horizontal scratches, if you can see those in there. Pretty much all the cylinders have them. There's some glazing going on too. You know, I did not have a lot of experience when I built this engine. This is actually my first like true full engine build. So I did just hone the cylinders myself with a normal engine hone. Cleaned up the deck. I did not have it, you know, decked. So didn't even have the parts balanced. The Scat rods, they were all pretty close. I want to say they were within like 8 or 9 grams of each other or something like that. So I kind of just threw it all together. You know, this was obviously a project and something that I just needed to get done quick, like, you know, budget build style. So, you know, for 5 years of use, I am extremely happy. But this is something that will definitely have to be taken care of, whether, you know, it is honed again or, you know, punched out for overside pistons. But, you know, at the power levels that I'm at now, I will most likely never do a bottom end like that again. I think that was more of an experiment than anything to see what it could take with just like a simple build. So if anything, you guys, my car is the budget build car because, you know, I didn't drop this block off and do all the stuff that I'm going to be doing with the budget build or what I'm going to be doing with this one as we move forward. For the price it costs to go to a machine shop, it does take a while sometimes, but for the price that it costs, you know, it is definitely your best bet and your best option. So. Went ahead and got it up here, so I had to take the clutch off. So I did want to show you guys the clutch real quick also before we get started. This line right here, this was the line I was talking about when I was running the water-cooled turbo. This fitting went to the turbo, so what I did was when I switched to the Borg Warner with the you know, oil-cooled, I just put a cap on the end. So when I went to pull the engine out for this you know, teardown, I just drained all the coolant from here. So when I took the heater hoses off the back of the engine on both sides, there was no coolant that came out of them. That was pretty cool. I'm definitely going to leave this on there, even though I don't use the coolant line, obviously, but that's just a really nifty thing that I thought I would share. All right, I've actually had a few questions recently about the clutch setup that I've been running on this car. So since I just took it off of the engine, I figured this would be a good time to show you guys if you haven't seen. I did show this clutch in a video right before I put it in the car, but that was a while ago. So, you know, for those of you that are newer that haven't seen it, this is basically the setup. This is a Fidanza 7A flywheel. So you got the shorter 7A bolts, the 7A pilot bearing. That's just straight bolt on. I think that was like $400, something like that. This is the South Bend Stage 4 Extreme ceramic 4-puck. This is a very, very aggressive clutch. It has been through a lot of shit. You can see it has gotten very hot. You can see there's material flaking off right there. There are some cracks in it, but there still is a fairly decent amount of material left, considering how much, you know, abuse it's taken, how many times, you know, I dumped the clutch and, you know, going, you know, brake boosting, you know, rolling anti-lag. You know, this is definitely not a normal clutch. The pedal effort is very, very stiff, but the you know, positive is it is very, very strong. It does not burn up. You don't even smell it if you burn it up. But the engagement is very, very harsh. It's very difficult to drive. Daily driver, if you're not used to it, I'm always reminded of this. If I let somebody drive the car, you're usually, you know, slamming your head against the seat, you know, to you know, for a good couple times, it is kind of tricky. I've had it in the car for a while, and you know, I just kind of know how to operate it efficiently. You know, you kind of got to get the revs up a little bit. So for daily use, if you're definitely driving a car every day, I don't necessarily recommend this clutch. But if you're making good power like this car and you want something that's going to hold up, this is definitely something that's good. Very expensive. This one was right around $1,000, but I would rather spend $1,000 on a clutch that's going to handle all this power and handle all the heat, which is the big thing, you know, melting the material away, you know, will ruin a clutch, you know, very quickly. So I'd rather, like I said, spend double than to, you know, use, you know, regular, you know, stage 3, you know, whatever the fuck you're going to use, and burn it up quick, and then that's just, you know, gonna burn a hole in your pocket. So this one still has some life in it. I do have a new clutch for the build that I've actually had for a little while. It's a custom made. It's basically the same principle, 4-puck ceramic, but the pressure plate's heat treated. It's got a couple little you know, voodoo magic goodies going on. I will show you guys that in the parts, you know, when I get all the parts together for this engine, I'll show you guys that. But that's nice because it's actually a little bit cheaper. It was $800 instead of $1,000. So for it to be basically the same thing, better and cheaper, you know, you can't go wrong. So I'll be showing you guys that in the future. But, you know, for the time being, this has definitely done its job. Never had this clutch like slip or do anything stupid like that. It's still pretty smooth. You know, the pressure plate is still pretty smooth. So this could definitely be reused. And I got a second car coming on the channel at some point, so who knows, I might just throw it in that and, you know, burn it up doing some launches before I throw it in the rubbish bin. Just like look at it, you know, see if it's like sparkly. You know, you get your light, shine the light on it. Like that. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of sparkles in there. See a little bit of sparkle. No big chunks or nothing though. And then on the edge of the magnet, that's actually somewhat normal. You know, I change the oil about every 1,000 miles in this car, and there's usually just a little bit, you know, from using up some of the material from running so hard. So that's why I like the magnetic drain plug. But yeah, the oil, it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and let that drain all the way out and put her back on the stand and start this tear down for real. All right, all the valve cover bolts out. Just gonna kind of pry on it a little bit. Had it off not too long ago, so, you know, gotta check that head torque every now and then, you know, at least once a year for me. Go ahead and pull that off of there. Pull this gasket off of there. Ooh, she's looking very clean in there. All right, so valve cover removed, and we can see nice and shiny under there. But before we look a little further into that, I just wanted to show you guys I discovered something that I have never seen before. Thought this was kind of weird, so I thought I'd show you. I run 7A camshaft in this car. This is pretty common with running higher power on AAN engine. The physical difference between them, other than the cam lobes, is there's a gear on the end of the intake cam that drives the distributor for the 7A. So since the AAN does not have distributor, it has distributorless ignition, does not have this gear. So when you put these cams in, it just sits here spin, it doesn't spin anything. So I find this extremely weird that the gear is broken off of the camshaft and it's just sitting down there in the head. Look at this. What the fuck? It just like broke off clean. Like, have you guys seen this? Has anybody seen this? You know, I'm not really like on the internet, you know, much like I used to be, like searching and learning things about these cars, but this is something I've never ran across. Just thought that was very interesting. But I don't know. Small trophy, who knows? But it doesn't seem like it did any damage to anything. It looks like it just came off, maybe scraped around a little bit right there, but it basically just sat in the head right there. Oh well, just thought you guys should know. Thought that was weird, but I did want to show you just how clean the inside of this engine is. Super clean. So I have had people criticize me before. This guy used to come in the shop I worked at. It was the guy that sold us the oil, and I told him, you know, oh yeah, I change the oil every 1,000 miles in my car, and you know, he basically telling me that I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm doing, and you know, hope you see this video, buddy, because this motherfucker is clean like brand new, and that's what you get when you change the oil every 1,000 miles. Because in my opinion, you know, I've been changing oil in cars for a long time, and you know, it got so much into this engine, it's really doesn't cost much money. Like what, like $25 to change the oil? Like I said, the Mobile 040 Walmart, very, very cheap. So I've always done that, and I haven't had an issue, and maybe that's a reason why it did last so long, or maybe not. Who knows? But that's just a little secret science that I have done with this car. I just typically start to see the color of the oil change around that mileage, and that is, you know, the carbon buildup, you know, dirt deposits, you know, things like that. And I don't want all that shit in my engine bearings at 8,000 RPM bouncing off the rev limiter. Don't want that shit in there, so I just cleaned it out to make sure it's fresh. You can see there's no oil stain in this cylinder head at all. It looked like it brand new, and this is how I will always treat this car. Like I said, it's for what you're getting out of it. It's really cost effective. Typically I will use a good oil filter, and then I'll just leave the oil filter on for 2 oil changes. I'll just drain the oil out, fill it back up, and then another 1,000 mile. Then I'll take the filter, change the filter, put the oil in. But you know, it just all depends, you know, how I'm feeling and what I want to do. But clean oil is always better than dirty oil. Alright, now since I'm going to be doing full disassemble for rebuild, I am going to go ahead and pop the cams out. You know, it's easier with the cylinder head attached, give you more leverage to, you know, do everything. So, do gotta remove the timing belt. We already got cylinder 1 top dead center. Check the time, make sure, you know, nothing jumped or anything like that, and that all that stuff looks good. So, I went ahead and loosened the crank bolt. Want to go ahead and loosen the crank and camshaft bolt while it's all still connected. That way, you know, it won't move if you take the belt off. You know, the impact is just gonna move the camshaft, so, you know, boom, just like that. Then I'll snug that back up. So, go ahead and take the belt off, and then start getting the cams out. Alright, got all the cam caps out in order. Went ahead and took the cam gear off. Got this nice little box. Laid out some of these rags that I got. I just wanted to mention, you don't want to use rags like this. I don't want to set a bad example, but this is really all I have right now. So just wanted to say that you want to use lint-free, like those blue shop towels are really good. Like I usually get those. But since this is going to be full disassembly and it's going to machine shop, I mean, it's going to be hot tanked, so you know, I'm not really worried about that. And we got a pretty decent hot tank at work, so I'll clean everything up really good to make sure there's no like lint or anything like that for reassembly, because you don't want any of that getting in your engine, because that lint will clog up the oil pickup for the oil pump, and that is a no good, obviously. So go ahead and pop these cams out of here. And this nice, almost Almost perfectly sized box. Looking good, looking good. And then I'll just go ahead and pull all these lifters out while I'm in here. Just gonna check them really quick. I haven't had any noise or anything, so. They're very good. Rock solid. Okay. All right. Like I said, let's get all these lifters out and then we'll work on getting these head bolts and popping his head off. All right, with the lifters out, I just wanted to look at all the keepers, make sure they're all in place, and they are. So that's good, you know, dropping a valve is definitely not a good thing. Never happened to me before, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. So yeah, that's good. All right, it's gonna go and get these head bolts loose. These are ARPs, so they're a little bit tighter than factory. I think they're like 80 to 85 foot-pound. I'd have to look up my records. I can't remember 100%, but somewhere right in there. So, but just nice and, you know, smooth. A couple turns. There it is. Okay. Up to the next one. Over here. All right, so that's all the nuts removed. So let's go through and unthread all the studs. One by one. Alrighty, got all the ARP hardware bagged up. Just checked around, made sure there's nothing else holding this cylinder head on, and we look good to go. It's just sitting on the dowel pins. Put those down and give it the old moment of truth here. Pop this head off and see if we got any damage going on. Okay, well, we definitely don't have an issue with the valve train, which is awesome. A pretty good amount. All right, well, that is very good news. Head gasket is still in good shape. I mean, just look at that. All that abuse over those years, and look at that head gasket. This is marvelous. All right, so yeah, on further inspection, looks like no cracks at all on the spark plug holes. And yeah, so far so good. So if all this thing needs is some piston rings, I mean, that's pretty good. All right, so I'm spinning the engine over and it definitely feels good. I'm not hearing anything. I don't hear any like bearing knocking or anything like that. You know, when the pistons come up to the top, they got like that normal amount. Well, I suppose that one's probably a little much, but they're supposed to have a little bit of play because obviously with heat they expand, but they feel pretty normal. I was honestly expecting to find broken piston, but I think I've just been having piston ring issues the last couple months. You know, they've worn out pretty good. The reason why I say that is because when I took the head off, there's oil that came out of the cylinder head and it's all over the cylinder walls. And it's just interesting because on these couple cylinders, like 3 was very low, 3 was 30 PSI, but You know, the two cylinders next to it, they was like somewhere around like 90 to 100, and that's way below spec. So obviously I knew that I had something going on. That made me worry that I had a valve train issue, so that's why I was like hoping that it was bottom end. But all the cylinder walls look good. I'm just noticing that about 1 inch down, the oil, when the piston goes up and then the piston goes down, it's really not taking that oil with it. I mean, the oil control ring is, you know, a little ways down the piston, but I've got oil down, you know, about 1.5 inches down, and it's really not, it's just kind of smearing. It just doesn't look like it's moving away, and this cylinder's doing it too. It's like, you can kind of see it too. It's like on this one, the oil's gone on one side, but on the other side, it's like you could see a lot of oil right there. It's like the oil control ring is not doing its job, but you know, wouldn't be surprised, you know, pushed her so hard all these years. All right, when I flipped it over, got all the oil and coolant drained out, you know, make a mess at that point, but got all the bolts out of the oil pan. Go ahead, pop that bad boy off of there. Right, and the lower gasket. Again, just look at something. A little small piece of plastic, maybe? It's not metal. Not sure what that is. It's plastic. But let's look at the oil pickup. That looks pretty good. Doesn't look like it's clogged up with anything. But there is a little piece of plastic in here. I don't know if you can see that, just tiny little pieces. It's not metal. Weird. But yeah. I mean, just look at this gasket. Like, this shit look new. 5 years old. So, change oil, folks. I promise. That's the hidden secret. Here. Go on there. Alright, pull the windage tray. Again. Look at this gasket. It didn't break or anything like that. It just came off. Looks like you could reuse it if you wanted to. Basically, when oil breaks down, you know, not changing your oil on time will cause oil leaks. It causes the gaskets to harden up and go bad, you know, from the oil, you know, breaking down. So if you keep fresh oil in your engine, all of the components in the engine will stay fresh too. I can't stress that enough. I mean, all of this stuff looks, I mean, it literally looks exactly the way it did 5 years ago when I put it all in here. It's just crazy. Okay, so it's supposed to have a little bit side to side, but up and down shouldn't have any. Okay, go ahead and turn the crank over. Up and down, good. Normal side to side. Okay. Up and down, good. Right. Let's take a look at this bearing. Wow. That drum looks really good. Look at the bearing. Still have some coating on there. Wow. I got to say, I'm impressed. All right, let's get this piston out, spin it around. About there. Okay. All right. Piston number 1. Looking good. Looking like maybe just the rings are worn a little bit. Oil control rings. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take all the other ones out, line them up, and see if we find anything damaged. All right, got all 5 pistons removed. We're basically back to the beginning of the video where we were looking at piston number 3, and just want to show the bearing. The rod bearing looked very good. Still all that coating intact. No big pieces missing. Nothing like that. Just overall, very good. Very happy with this finding. So, just gotta pop the crank gear off the front, oil pump housing, rear main seal, get rid of the rest of the accessories. I gotta get the water pump off and the oil filter housing. But, you know, once we get all that, I wanna go ahead and remove the crankshaft, take the ARP hardware out, pull the crank out, check out the main bearings. A general rule of thumb with this engine, if your rod bearings are good, then your main bearings are definitely good. But, you know, just want to check them anyway because the crankshaft's coming out because, you know, going to be going to machine shop like I said. So that's pretty much, we're going to knock that out next. All right, so need to get the crank gear off in order to remove the oil pump to get the crankshaft out. But it's being very stubborn, it doesn't want to come off, so I've got a harmonic balancer puller kit, or, you know, pulley puller kit. I'm just gonna, this one's pretty generic, I've had it for a long time, but works on some things, doesn't work on others. But I'm going to throw this together real quick, and this should allow me to pull this off without any damage. I'll show you how it works if you've never seen one. Those of you that work on cars probably used this many times. So basically I'm just going to get the bolts, thread them in there. Okay, that's one. Take it all the way down. All right, so those 2 bolts are tight. So let's run this all the way like that. That tight right there. Get it right in the center. All right, and then we'll just go grab a socket to put on that. All right, got my socket on there. So I can go ahead and start turning this to pull the gear out. Trying to keep this as straight as possible, but I'm just gonna stick a screwdriver in here and that's gonna keep the crank from turning. Almost there. Whew. All right, got the billet tome crankshaft gear removed. Look at that bad boy. Did just want to show the keyway is a little messed up. I would call it distorted. It's a little bit distorted, if you can see that. Trying to shine in the light. All that stress, you know, just yanking that son bitch. 30-pounder boost. But yeah, just thought you guys would like to see that. We'll definitely try and source a new keyway. The gear is definitely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure this keyway will work no problem, but it's almost as if it's like shifted over just the tiniest little bit, like a millimeter or so. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's like, it's almost like smudged a little bit right there. But I'll go ahead and pop off this oil pump and the rear main seal so we can flip it over and start taking the main bearing caps out. And here's the rear main seal. Same thing, look at the gasket. You can still read the labels. It is still in very good condition. So a note about AAN rear main seal. I would say this about all Audi engines, all the ones I've worked on, you know, 2.7, 2.8, 1.8, 2.2, you know, all the normal stuff, you know, from like my era, like growing up working on cars and stuff. I always recommend OEM rear main seal. This bad boy, I want to say was like $150, $160, you know, definitely not cheap, but you know, if you change your oil, you know, like I said, 1,000 miles is that's excessive, you know, that's, you know, I could definitely see somebody being like, oh, that's really stupid. Like, oh yeah, I totally get it. But the amount of time it takes me to drive 1,000 miles, to me, it's worth it. You know, if you're driving your car every day like this and you're beating on it, I would say more like 3,000 mile. I think that's a good number. I just think by the time it gets 5,000 miles, the oil is pretty broken down. So the OEM rear main seal is just very high quality. I have actually, when I put this engine together, I was cheaping out on everything. Well, not like totally cheaping out, but I was just trying to save money. And I basically got the cheap ones. There's one that's like maybe like $25, something like this. Do not buy this rear main seal. I did not even attempt to put it on the engine. Just when it came in and I saw it compared to the one that I took out, I would rather have put the one that I took out back in. That's literally how much better the quality of the actual seal. You know, the flange looks okay for the aftermarket, but the seal is a totally different material. It's just not as flexible. It definitely just seems like a waste, considering you have to literally pull the transmission or the engine and remove the clutch and flywheel to get to this seal. So for the amount of time and effort, it's really worth just spending the money. You know, I bought this one 5 years ago and I am 100% going to reuse it because there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. So just wanted to, you know, throw that at you. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and rip all these studs loose and get this show on the road. All right, get these main bearing caps off. Look at that, nice and smooth. Looking good, crankshaft looking good so far. So cap number 4 is notoriously difficult to remove, but luckily on the motor they put these little tabs on the block. So because of the thrust bearing, you really can't move it back and forth to, you know, that's to keep the crank from walking, but I kind of just go on this side a little bit, this side a little bit. Yep, look at that. Easy peasy. Looking cheesy. Alrighty. Alright. that bearing number 4 looks like it got pretty hot. That's the first one I've seen that. Oh yeah, 5 looking too. All right, let me get the camera and we'll go in for a close-up view so you guys can see. But on the crank, it looks pretty good. All right, just wanted to take a look at these main bearings. First couple looking pretty good, but like I was saying, number 4, look at that. Look at that coating missing right there. Ooh, she got hot. 5 a little bit missing too, you can see that, but not like 4. That one definitely got hot, but to be expected, you know, the way I was running this engine. So, you know, being the limiter at 8,000 RPM is, you know, this engine can definitely do it, but you know, how many times can it do it? And you know, I have definitely answered that. The answer is a lot. So, you know, for the price and the effort of putting all this together, you know, I would say we are definitely even. I'm not, you know, discouraged at all from any of this. You know, this is actually really cool to me, being able to open this up and see everything after these years of abuse. All right, so that pretty much wrap everything up. Just got to take off the couple little accessories I got left on there, sensors, things like that, get it ready for machine shop. So next video, I will definitely be showing you guys the parts that I have for this engine build. I will be unveiling what my plans are for the bottom end, what my plans are for the cylinder head, and just all around what my plan is for the engine build in general, as far as what I want to get out of it, because, you know, we can only do more. You know, I definitely don't want to break this thing all the way down just to rebuild back to the same way. I mean, that would be cool, but, you know, we just always looking, you know, to go further and always looking to push it to the next level. Always. It doesn't matter what I do. I just always want to keep doing better. And to me, building this to handle more power is obviously better. I don't necessarily have to build it to make that power, but I want to, at least for right now, build it to handle the power that one day I'm hoping to make. So we will be going over all of that in the very next video. Hopefully will just be, you know, this next weekend, if I can get to it, hopefully. So I just want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for all the support, all the likes and everything, comments especially. You guys are just the shit. I mean, for real. I really appreciate it. So I definitely see all that stuff, and I definitely have seen how the likes have made an impact on how the videos get out there, because I can like look at all that stuff in the YouTube analytics. So sometimes when I'm making a video and I'm waiting for the shit to download, that gives me time to go on and look at that stuff and look at the numbers and kind of look at the impact of things and seeing what's working and what's not. Can definitely see that coworker reaction video was pretty good. You guys are definitely watching the shit out of that. So plan on doing some more videos like that, especially when I get the car done and broken in and everything. So just wanted to say again, thank you for everybody following this project and these projects. I got more stuff coming very soon. Got some more cars coming on the channel very soon. I'm going to be, you know, somewhat reaching out to you guys. You guys want to reach out to me. You know, I'm going to hopefully make that available soon in the future. Kind of just get more in depth on things, but this is something that I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy this community, and it's just really more than anything gives me this project. All these projects give me just so much to do and so much to strive for that it just all around just makes me better at everything, in my opinion. So for that, I appreciate everything. I don't want to, you know, beg for subscribes or likes or any of that. I don't think that's the way to do it. So I think you just, you know, have to work hard, and, you know, the hard work will pay off. And if you like something, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. It's as simple as that. You don't need to beg you to do that. So just appreciate everybody. Like I said before, can't say it enough. And thanks for watching all the way through the video, and hope everybody have a very good day.